In this video, we're looking at one of the best novels ever written, James Joyce, Ulysses. Ulysses was published in 1922, and James Joyce is an Irish author. I want to look at in this video what makes this book great. And also why, even though it's thought of as hard to read, it doesn't have to be. And everybody, I think, can enjoy it if they look at it in the right light. But to start with, I'm going to read a little bit. I picked these passages by just straight up opening the book up at random. And there's two that I'm going to read, and they are both chosen randomly because this whole book is, every page is written with such precision and care. There's so much detail on every page that it doesn't really matter where you start, where you pick up. It's also, the plot is not exactly from A to B. It's the set of characters that are pretty steady through it. But the events are somewhat random. They don't obviously lead toward some particular point. It's a wild and free wandering. So in some ways, it matters less than some other books where you might start. And every page is fun. That's what I want to hopefully show just by reading some. So let's hear some. This is page 196 in this edition. From the sundial towards James Gate walked Mr. Kernan, pleased with the order he had booked for Pullbrook Robertson boldly along James Street, past Shackleton's offices. Got round him all right. How do you do, Mr. Crimmins? First rate, sir. I was afraid you might be up in your other establishment in Pimlico. How are things going? Just keeping alive. Lovely weather we're having. Yes, indeed. Good for the country. Those farmers are always grumbling. I'll just take a thimbleful of your best gin, Mr. Crimmins. A small gin, sir. Yes, sir. Terrible affair, that General Slocum explosion. Terrible, terrible. 1,000 casualties and heart-rending scenes. Men trampling down women and children. Most brutal thing. What do they say was the cause? Spontaneous combustion? Most scandalous revelation. Not a single lifeboat would float and the fire hose all burst. What I can't understand is how the inspectors ever allowed a boat like that. Now you're talking straight, Mr. Crimmins. You know why? Palm oil. Is that a fact? Without a doubt. Well now, look at that. And America, they say, is the land of the free. I thought we were bad here. I smiled at him. America, I said quietly, just like that. What is it? The sweepings of every country, including our own. Isn't that true? That's a fact. Graft, my dear sir. Well, of course, where there's money going, there's always someone to pick it up. Saw him looking at my frock coat. Dress does it. Nothing like a dressy appearance. Bowls them over. Hello, Simon, Father Crowley said. How are things? Hello, Bob, old man, Mr. Dedalus answered, stopping. Mr. Kernan halted and preened himself before the sloping mirror of Peter Kennedy, hairdresser. Stylish coat, beyond a doubt. Scott of Dawson Street. Well, worth the half-sovereign I gave Neary for it. Never built under 3 guineas. Fits me down to the ground. Some Kildare Street Club toff had it probably. John Mulligan, the manager of the Hibernian Bank, gave me a very sharp eye yesterday on Carlisle Bridge, as if he remembered me. You can see how it's almost conversational. The word is stream of consciousness that's used often. You kind of, these phrases, they're not even full sentences sometimes. You're kind of like feeding the thoughts of the character straight to the page. And a lot of these conversations don't have quotes on them. But as you can see, it's pretty natural. Joyce is imagining being there and just translating every little thought as if he were in the head of the character right down to the page. And it's so detailed and idiosyncratic and real. And you feel it, especially the dialogue. These characters are just funny, and the details captured so specifically that every page is entertaining. Let me finish this section. A ham must dress the character for those fellows, knight of the road, gentlemen. And now, Mr. Crimmins, may we have the honor of your custom again, sir, the cup that cheers but not inebriates, as the old saying has it. There's quite a bit of drinking, which is no surprise for an Irish author, maybe. Obviously, it's just a bar scene. These are some guys at the bar. I don't even remember these characters specifically, except Daedalus. Stephen Daedalus is, more or less James Joyce, and I think this is his father here, the Daedalus in this paragraph. But this guy Kernan is just a character in the city, and he's. Let's hear him as he leaves the bar, because the description of the street scene is so neat. North Wall and Sir John Rogerson's quay, with hulls and anchor chains sailing westward, sailed by a skiff, a crumpled throwaway, rocked on the ferry wash. Elijah is coming. Mr. Kernan glanced in farewell at his image. High color, of course, grizzled mustache. Returned Indian officer. Bravely he bore his stumpy body forward on spatted feet, squaring his shoulders. Is that Ned Lambert's brother over the way, Sam? What? Yes. He's as like it as damn it. No, the windscreen of that motor car in the sun there. Just a flash like that. Damn like him. Ahem. Hot spirit of juniper juice warmed his vitals and his breath. Good drop of gin, that was. His frock tails winked in bright sunshine to his fat strut. Down there Emmett was hanged, drawn and quartered, greasy black rope. Dogs licking the blood off the street when the Lord Lieutenant's wife drove by in her noddy. Bad times those were. Well, over and done with. Great topers, too, 4-bottle men. Let me see. Is he buried in St. Michan's? Or no? There was a midnight burial in Glasnevin. Corpse brought in through a secret door in the wall. Dignam is there now. Went out in a puff. Well, better turn down here. Make a detour. Mr. Kernan turned and walked down the slope of Watling Street by the corner of Guinness Visitors' Waiting Room. Outside the Dublin Distillers Company's stores, an outside car without fare or jarvey stood, the reins knotted to the wheel. Damn dangerous thing. Some Tipperary bosthoon endangering the lives of the citizens. Runaway horse. And that's just a sample of the language. He's got these short phrases that kind of hit you. Boom, boom, boom. And every one hits you. You can see it or hear it or feel it, very sensory and strong. And it assaults you when you start to feel like you're there, like you feel the rhythm. And it's a very urban city rhythm. It's 1920s Dublin. And it's almost like poetry, the way it hits you with lines. It's got that rhythm. It's not rhyming, obviously, but it's not these full sentences. It's more punchy, and it makes you feel something. And then throughout the book, you have these kind of street scenes and day-to-day descriptions of detailed characters doing their thing, and but also thrown in all the time in the middle of all these just daily grind kind of city life stuff. You have references and descriptions that are way overblown, and references to Greek mythology and biblical things. So it's like the minutia of daily life, and then it's also at the same time blown to cosmic proportion, and you're thrown to observe everything from the perspective of the gods or something. Here's the very next section after that bar scene, just a little bit. And this is Stephen Dedalus, who's James Joyce, basically, the artist. And he has the next scene. I'll read a little bit. Stephen Dedalus watched through the webbed window, the lapidary's fingers prove a time-dulled chain. Dust webbed the window and the show trays. Dust darkened the toiling fingers with their vulture nails. Dust slept on dull coils of bronze and silver, lozenges of cinnabar, on rubies, leprous and wine-dark stones. Born all in the dark, wormy earth, cold specks of fire, evil, lights shining in the darkness, where fallen archangels flung the stars of their brows, muddy swine snouts, hands and root, gripe and rest them. She dances in a foul gloom where gum burns with garlic. A sailor man, rust-bearded, sips from a beaker rum and eyes her. A long and sea-fed silent rut. She dances, capers, wagging her sowish haunches and her hips, on her gross belly flapping a ruby egg. Old Russell, with a smeared chamois rag, burnished again his gem, turned it and held it at the point of his Moses beard. Grandfather Ape gloating on a stolen hoard. All of that is Stephen Dedalus in a jewelry shop, I believe. And his mind is just spinning, and he's the artist, so he's kind of has wild imagination. You can hear how complex the language gets, and it's hard to know at every point exactly what he's referring to. But the point is, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to catch every specific reference. You can just feel the rhythm of the language as you read it through, catch what you catch, let what you don't go, and that's fine. That's really, I think, the point. It's just to enjoy. There's so much detail, and you catch something different every time. You don't catch it, you catch it, doesn't matter. There's some people that, read this book in a book club, and they're going to dissect every little reference and figure it all out. That's not the way to read this. The way to read it is just to let it flow and enjoy it for what it is. There's plenty there to catch. There's too much. You can't take it all in. You're not supposed to. But you have a sense of it all being there, a sense that there's all this richness in the references. And it just gives it a lot of weight. And it makes you feel like the world he's describing is real, and it makes you feel a little different about the world, because everything going on in the day-to-day activities has so much history and so much symbolism that you could unravel behind it. James Joyce is making the world seem like the wondrous place that it is, even everyday crap going on in Dublin, Ireland in 1922. And he'll describe the dirtiest, crappiest parts of the city at that time, but the wonder is still there. It's right there. No matter how dirty it gets, it's still an incredible world. It's so intricate, beautiful, ugly. You could hear in that passage the twice at the bar scene they were referencing tragedies, people that had gotten burned in a ship fire, I think. And so it's constantly bouncing back and forth between tragedy and just the beauty of everyday stuff. And that contrast is one of the things that makes this book so great. I was going to read a whole nother passage. I'm not sure I need to. I think you get a feel for the language just reading a couple pages like I did. The whole book is that kind of poetry, and it doesn't stop. It's relentless, and every page you can appreciate in the same way. I will read a little bit of the next passage. Just it's written like a play. It's got Bloom, who is the actual main character, and he's having a conversation with this other guy who's trying to convince him to solicit the services of a prostitute. Listen to the language in this conversation. Bloom: I wanted to have now concluded. Night dress was never, hence this. But tomorrow is a new day will be. Past is today. Past was is today. And now is will then tomorrow, as now was be past yester. And he's kind of losing control of his ability to speak, is the point there, as he's being tempted. And here's the tempter. Virag is his name. Prompts in a pig's whisper. Insects of the day spend their brief existence in reiterated coition, lured by the smell of the inferiorly pulchritudinous female possessing extendified pudendal nerve in dorsal region. Pretty pole, his yellow parrot beak gabbles nasally. They had a proverb in the Carpathians in or about the year 5550 of our era. 1 tablespoonful of honey will attract friend Bruin more than half a dozen barrels of first choice malt vinegar. Bears buzz bothers bees, but of this apart. At another time we may resume. We were very pleased, we others. He coughs and bending his brow rubs his nose thoughtfully with a scooping hand. You shall find that these night insects follow the light, an illusion for remember their complex adjustable eye. For all these knotty points, see the 17th book of my Fundamentals of Sexology, or the Love Passion, which Dr. L.B. says is the book sensation of the year. Some, to example, there are again whose movements are automatic. Perceive that is his appropriate son, night bird, night sun, night town. Chase me, Charlie. He blows into Bloom's ear. Buzz. It's crazy language, but it's fun. It's just fun to read. And I read this book through one time, many years ago, only one time. But I enjoy going back and just popping into a page or a little section. That's how fun this book is. And I was thinking about what this book is like, and I have played a video game or two. It's like an open world. It creates this whole world. You can start almost any place. You can get into it and go wherever you want. That's what's awesome about this book to me. Okay, so I talked about how much fun Ulysses is, how to read it, the descriptiveness of it, and kind of hopefully give it enough feel of what it's like to enter that world and stay in it. I mean, it's 500 pages long. It's a lot of world there. But why is it a great book? It's not just because it's big. It's not just because the language is really fun. It's not just because of all the intricate allusions and the creativity and the way he toys with the words and the way people speak. what makes it, in addition to all those things, what makes it really great is Joyce was creating a picture of the modern world in Dublin, and observing very carefully the silly and the obscene things that were going on in that modern city. Is it's the early 20th century. It's pretty close to our own time. The industrial world was in full swing. Urbanism, development of urban populations was in full swing, and all the hectic and negative qualities of that process were in full swing. And he's recording all that in this book. The inane things, the overwhelming simple pleasures that the luxuries you don't need in city environments, too much stimulation and easy pleasure available, and how that affects people. It's all in the world that he's describing. And so he's capturing the negative side of the modern world in such detail and with such sensitivity that you're disgusted by a lot of that part. And his characters are struggling to figure it out and reacting to that world. But at the same time, it's an incredibly joyful book, fun book. And that juxtaposition of the two, of observing the pretty horrific side of modern life closely, and then at the same time, this universal joy in life and living in the world, both are so clear. And to me, that's the key to what makes this book one of the greatest books ever written. The way he captured both at the same time. Life can be terrible, but it's always amazing at the same time. And you've got 500 pages of that world, and it's incredibly dense poetry. It's a blast to read, and you don't have to figure out every detail of it. You just have fun with it. Great book, one of the greatest. James Joyce, Ulysses. Check it out if you haven't.